Hi, everyone, and welcome to Hult's latest episode of Expert Talk, the podcast where we take a deep dive into the ideas, people, and innovations shaping the future of business. Today's episode is titled Innovation Mindset From Ideas to Real World Impact. I'm Gabriel Buguñá, Hult Masters Enrollment Head based in Düsseldorf, Germany, and I'm joined today by Lia Niedermeier, Strategy and Business Development Manager at AO Multimedia Drones, and a Hult dual degree master's graduate. Lia, thank you for joining me today. Why don't you give our audience a quick introduction to yourself and your role?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone who is joining us today, and thank you, Gabriel, for having me. As Gabriel already mentioned, I'm Lia, and I'm currently working as a strategy and business development manager at AO Multimedia Drones, a Dubai-based drone show company. And I would say that my educational journey has been quite international. So I completed my master's in international business at Hult's Dubai campus in 2023, and then continued with the dual degree in international marketing in Boston. And before Hult, I studied fashion management because I've always been interested in the creative side of business. And after graduation, I actually initially worked in the fashion industry before deciding to join my family's business, which is one of the leading drone show companies globally today. And the company originally started in 1995 as a manufacturer of professional searchlights and also created light and laser shows for TV productions, events, and festivals, and later also expanded into drone technology. And we've since delivered drone shows around the whole world and achieved several Guinness World Records, such as the light up Dubai New Year's Eve show at the Burj Khalifa. And personally, I grew up between Germany and Dubai and have lived in several different countries throughout my life. And I think being exposed to different cultures from a young age has shaped how I approach business, communication, and also relationships. And it's a big reason why international business always has felt like a natural fit for me personally.
Thank you so much, Lia. It's a great story. I think it's full of components that our audience will be super eager to hear. Today, we will talk about what innovation looks like day to day and what it's like stepping into a growing family business, how it has changed, as you mentioned, from the beginning in light shows to drones today and Guinness World Records across different markets around the world. Now, before we jump in, just a quick reminder that this session is being recorded. So if you need to leave at any point, you'll be able to access the full conversation afterwards. Let's go back to your journey before you joined Hult. Lia, I want to start our conversation today by focusing on your life, how it was before you joined our university. I know that you experienced many cultures, as you said. You grew between Germany and Dubai and traveled across the world before Hult. How did those experiences help you shape what you wanted next? And looking at where you are now in a family business that thinks globally, what made you choose Hult to turn that into real business skills?
I think moving between different countries from a young age made me naturally curious about how people think, buy, and also do business differently. And I was constantly exposed to different cultures, languages, and also ways of working. And what really fascinated me was understanding what changes across markets and also what stays the same. Because if you, for example, have a product or a service that works, for example, in the Middle Eastern market, doesn't automatically mean that it also works in the European market or the US market. So I started to ask myself, why does a brand succeed in one country and maybe struggle in another? And then also how companies can adapt while still maintaining their identity. And that's one of the reasons I chose HALP, because the opportunity to study business in Dubai and then also marketing in Boston gave me two very complementary perspectives. So one helped me to understand how organizations operate, and then also while the other helped me understand how brands compete and grow internationally.
Thank you for sharing that, Leah. In fact, it's super interesting. I feel like you highlighted how you use the global environment as a training ground, especially pairing the business foundation in Dubai with the marketing management that you got in Boston. And how did you learn how markets work and brands compete inside them in different components, different situations in both the scenarios? Now, looking into your whole experience, when people talk about innovation, it can mean anything. So let's make it practical for our audience today. What did innovation actually look like in your projects? And what habits did you take from that experience that you still use now in a family business environment?
Mhm. What I really appreciated about how it was how practical the learning experience was. So innovation wasn't something that we only talked about in the theory in the classroom, but we actually worked on real business challenges with real companies as well. For example, we created a marketing campaign for Dunkin' Donuts and also pitched another campaign to the marketing team of Dolce& and Gabbana in Italy, where we actually brought the concept to life by creating a social media video advertisement as a part of a new strategy for a new audience. But I think what made these projects especially valuable was that we had to work through the same uncertainties that you also face in the real workplace. So we had tight timelines, ambiguous briefs, and teams made up of people from completely different cultures and also professional backgrounds. So, beyond the technical side of creating a strategy, we also had to learn how to collaborate effectively, manage different perspectives, and also deliver results under pressure. And that's exactly what I'm doing at AO now, because we have ambitious goals to expand into new markets. And I'm involved in evaluating those new market opportunities and also developing growth strategies to support our international expansion plans. And one of the biggest lessons I took from Halt was that having a good idea is only the first step. You also need to be able to justify it with data and then build a clear strategy around it. And then confidently defend your recommendations also in front of stakeholders. And that's something I use almost every day now, because whether I'm discussing new business opportunities, presenting a strategic initiative, or also speaking with potential investors and partners, the ability to communicate a vision clearly and also back it up with solid business cases is incredibly important.
It's very interesting. I feel the roadmap that you are telling us about today, it's all about practicality. And I also see how your training, like coming from fashion industry, getting to work for Dolce& and Gabbana must have been amazing. But at the same time, you had to do a project for Dunkin' Donuts that might have been something completely different for you at that time. But everything helps you grow the skills, and that's amazing. I know that during your master's, you have experienced Dubai, Boston, New York, and Singapore. But if you had to boil it down, what did that global exposure teach you about entering a new market that most people underestimate? And how did you build local understanding during your time there?
Hmm, I think one thing people often underestimate when entering a new market is how important local context is. So you can have a great product or a strategy, but if you don't understand how people think, communicate, and also make decisions in that market, it's much harder or even impossible to succeed. And my experience at Hall actually reinforced that because studying in Dubai and also in Boston broadened my understanding of international markets and also exposed me to very different perspectives on business, which actually helped me develop a more impactful mindset. And then spending time in global hubs like New York and also Singapore gave me a broader view of how global business hubs actually operate. And what I learned is that every market is completely different, and you need to understand local realities while keeping a global perspective. And I think that global experience is a huge advantage when entering new markets because it helps you to adapt faster and build stronger relationships and identify also opportunities more quickly.
Absolutely, I love that. Understanding the global reality, keeping in mind the local perspective, that is the key at Holt and is the key of the rotations. I imagine as well when you were in Dubai, in Boston, and in the rotation campuses, that you always had to network. And when you look back at your time at Holt, what surprised you most about networking across different campuses, different cultures? What have you learned about building relationships that last and become useful over time?
Network is actually something that Hull does exceptionally well. And one thing that surprised me was how naturally those connections happened. Because I met so many new people through classes, also student activities and events at Halt that they organized. And I think as long as you actively engage, it is really easy to connect with people, from different cultures, backgrounds, and also industries. And one experience that actually stands out for me was founding our own club together with two classmates at the Dubai campus. And it started as an opportunity to bring people together, but it quickly became a great way to connect with people from different programs and also years who we might have not met otherwise. And seeing that community grow was incredibly rewarding. And in the end, the club was also awarded as Hult's Best Club of the Year. So I think it's really important to engage in your whole student life. And even
That's
today, some of the people I met at Hult are still among my best friends, and we all live in different places. So I think that the biggest privilege is to have friends and connections all over the world who can reach out to you and rely on. And also, my best friend at Hult just eventually joined our family business because over the years, our family actually got to know each other really well. And then when she was looking for a new opportunity last year, my family actually invited her to join the company because they had the chance to get to know not only her personally, but also the way she approaches challenges, works with people, and also carries herself professionally. So today we're not only friends, but we also travel together. We live in the same city and actually work on multi-million-dollar projects together. So I think for me, the biggest lesson is that networking isn't about just collecting contacts. It's about building genuine relationships and also maintaining them over time, because those relationships often end up creating opportunities that you could have never planned for.
Absolutely. That's such a powerful networking. And I cherish a lot the moments that we have shared all together. I had the pleasure to meet you both in Munich, and that was fantastic. And that those are very also so practical insights through clubs. Could you tell us a bit what was the club about?
It was called the Happiness Club.
The
So it
happiness.
was, or the main goal was just to connect basically mental health with also engaging in class and just bringing people together to create a network.
That's amazing. One of the most sought after electives we have during the summers is management of happiness. It's such a relevant topic, and it's amazing that you guys did a club on it. Thinking about this global landscape, I know that I know that you're always traveling around the world, but we got the chance to meet in an alumni event in Munich when we get to go through innovative ideas, to network again with old contacts and new contacts mostly. Could you tell us a bit how did you end up in the event in Munich? Because I know that you knew that there were things happening, but this event was one of the first ones for you. How was
Yes,
it for you participating in a Hult alumni event?
yeah. The Munich event was actually my first Hult alumni event. I was actually surprised because I didn't know that there is such a big Hult community even here in Munich. Because I just recently moved to Munich and never joined an event before in any other city as well. And I got to know it about it through my friend Paulina, actually, who's also in the company now, because she, I think, received an email from Hult for this event, and then she just asked me to join. And I think we've joined 3 events for Hult alumni now, and it was actually amazing because I met so many new peoples and interesting peoples from different industries as well. And in the end, there's always someone that you can connect to also for business purposes. In this case, for example, I met someone who could actually help us in business development also through contracts and his network that he knows that are interested in potential drone shows, for example.
Exactly. That's I think is what is the fantastic thing about the alumni network. It's exactly what you say. Sometimes life or work takes you to a different city and you're living, and what a great network to start your seeding, your growing in a new place. What is better than the whole alumni network? People, professionals that you know how they think, you know their culture, and they can help you grow your own plant in the new city. And that's amazing to hear. And I hope that you can also join more future events in Germany and also across the world. And going back to the relevance of networking, to staying connected through the Halt events, through a wider community, and then using those relationships for real market decisions. rather than just introductions or connections. As you said, today you guys are evaluating $1 million projects, and that's amazing. Um, Now I want to think about a bit more on what happens after Holt. Looking now at your life at Holt, I know that you have stepped into a role in your family business, which I'm sure it brings its own leadership challenges and rewards, especially when you're trying to innovate. So, in your role now, how would you describe or introduce new ideas when there are legacy ways of working and long-standing relationships involved? While you want to keep this momentum of innovation, how do you do it?
I would say joining a family business is an interesting experience because you come in with fresh ideas, but you're also joining something that has already been successful for many years. And in my role at AO, I focus on strategy and business development, which often means that I'm introducing new ideas and also exploring new markets and identifying growth opportunities. But before proposing change, it's always important to understand why things are currently being done a certain way. So many of the company's processes, relationships, and successes have been built over decades. And one lesson that I've learned is that innovation works best when it builds on existing strengths rather than just trying to replace them. So rather than changing things for the sake of change, I try to listen first and then also understand what really works and identify both strengths and also weaknesses to see the areas where we can improve. And I found that people are much more open to innovation when they actually feel like their experience is respected. And that's when new ideas can actually build on strong foundations and help the business to grow even further, especially as we continue exploring opportunities in markets like the US now, where I can draw on the global perspective and also cross market relationships that I've built.
Amazing. And starting to wrap up a bit our session, first, before we jump into that, I want to ask you, how do you see the innovation and in the future in the business that you are in today, in drone shows, in how we impress big amounts of people? Do you want to put in a bit on what is the innovation looking like? How are you guys integrating AI, for example, into your business?
Mhm. There's a lot happening in digital technologies and also in AI right now. And of course, we're looking into it in our company as well. And we're trying to build a team as well who is dedicated just to see like how we can integrate AI better and also to develop an R&D team to be able to get into innovation faster now. And we're actually planning a lot of things. We have so many different projects that I'm not able to talk about right now just because everything is really confidential. But
I imagine.
there are really great opportunities in innovation, and I think it's really important for a company to always stay up to date and go with the new technologies as well.
Absolutely. That's in fact one of the new things that we have at Holt. We have AI labs for many of our programs where students will go through applied AI techniques. They're even going to get an applied AI certificate on it, meaning that our new graduates will be ready to implement AI solutions into their future works, startups, corporate jobs. And that's one of the key elements for the future. Before we wrap up, we always ask this one final question on Expert Talk. What's your one piece of advice for students and professionals watching today?
I would say my one piece of advice is to don't wait until you feel completely ready. Because most of the opportunities that helped me grow came from stepping into situations where I didn't know everything about yet. And growth usually happens outside of your comfort zone, and confidence often comes after taking the action and not before. And the people who actually succeed are often not the ones who have all the answers from the beginning, but the ones who are really willing to keep learning and also keep asking questions and keep putting themselves in unfamiliar situations. And every new experience, country projects, or also challenge teaches you something valuable if you're open to it.
Absolutely. Getting out of the comfort zone. I love that. Thank you for sharing so much, Leah, and for making this such a valuable and insightful conversation. Thank you for our audience for joining us today in Expert Talk episode. As I mentioned earlier, today's session will be available to rewatch and listen through our YouTube and Spotify channels. So feel free to revisit it, to share it with someone who might find it useful. If you want to find out more about how hult prepares its students for global career growth, or if you're interested in joining one of our upcoming events, you can visit our website at hult.edu and learn more. Wishing you all success as you build and navigate your careers with a global mindset. Thank you, everyone, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.